Brant DXT grain carts have efficient unload speeds, large carrying capacities, unmatched durability, and reliable components that make sure your cart is working when you are. Lead the field with DXT grain carts from Brant. Visit your local Brant dealer for more information.
Every weekday at 10 a.m. Central, one of the personalities from Real Agriculture appears on RFD TV and Rural Radio 147's Market Day Report to shed light and insight and perspective on what is happening in the world of agriculture. Enjoy.
Well, Canada's new Ag Minister, Heath MacDonald, he's heading out on an Indo-Pacific trade mission. Kelvin Hepner with RealAg Radio joins us now. Kelvin, thanks for being here. So tell us where he's headed. That's a big region.
Yeah, it is a big region, and of course a major market that both Canada and the U.S. are focused on. Last week we saw President Trump announce the framework deal with the Indonesian government, and Minister MacDonald's stops here over the next week include Indonesia, Singapore, and the Philippines. Canada opened up an ag trade office in Manila last year, the capital of the Philippines. He's planning to visit that office. He also hinted at potentially opening another Canadian delegation or diplomatic office presence for agricultural trade exports in the Indo-Pacific region in an interview with Shaun Haney just last week on RealAg Radio.
So, Kelvin, the reason then behind this trip is some goodwill, getting some face-to-face time, and maybe getting a stronger foothold in that region?
Certainly, yes. Those are the top line priorities in terms of what Minister MacDonald is doing in the Indo-Pacific this week. There is also a huge appetite right now in Canada to diversify Canada's ag export markets. We know the U.S. will always be Canada's largest market, but of course, with the pressure from the Trump administration in terms of tariffs and this August 1st deadline that is looming, there's an appetite both politically and I'd say among the Canadian public to diversify trade elsewhere. That's something that our agriculture sector in Canada and the U.S. has focused on for decades. But that, of course, that Indo-Pacific region, lots of potential, and Minister MacDonald says he's hoping that Canada can be right there with the U.S. when it comes to working on improving that trade relationship. U.S. in Indonesia, Canada also looking to build that trade relationship with Indonesia. Just last year, late 2024, under the previous Trudeau government, the Canadian government actually said it concluded negotiations on a trade agreement with the Indonesians. And now we have uncertainty as to where that deal is at. And again, coming on the heels of last week's announcement by President Trump that the U.S. has an agreement with the Indonesian government.
So, of course, a lot of folks taking a little bit of a pivot to diversify and strengthen, of course, their ag economy as well. From what I understand, MacDonald has yet to meet with Secretary Brooke Rollins. Is that something that's going to be down the line as Canada and U.S. trade continues?
It's certainly, I'd say, a surprise that they haven't talked to this point with the emphasis that there is right now on Canada-U.S. relations, especially from the Canadian trade perspective. Certainly, a lot of these trade talks are being run through the highest of levels between the White House and Prime Minister Mark Carney's office and Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, being run through there. So I'm assuming, or we're reading between the lines, likely Minister MacDonald has been directed to kind of stay out of it for now. But at the same time, there are many things that Canada's Ag Minister and the U.S. Ag Secretary could talk about outside of trade. There's all kinds of other issues that are less controversial where they share perspectives that they could be working on. So it's a bit of a surprise, and certainly lots of focus here north of the border on this August 1st deadline that is looming, as President Trump has said that Canada will likely face tariffs. There may not be a deal for Canada. We heard yesterday from Prime Minister Carney saying that negotiations are in a intense phase, I believe was the quote that he used yesterday to describe where things are at right now in terms of bilateral talks.
Intense phase, and it's got us all, of course, holding our breath right now. Kelvin, thank you. As always, we appreciate your team. Real Ag Radio's Kelvin Hepner, that is. Again, thank you, Kelvin. You can catch Real Ag Radio. It airs 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That's weekdays on Real Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. And again, love having their team join us here on Market Day Report.
Send us your feedback on that bit by sending me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or call the Real Ag feedback line, 855-776-6147.